welcome to the news on NTA International at 7. I am Nolene Ebel Ame, and Courage Ogiriahi is our sign language interpreter. First, let's bring you the headlines. United Nations adopts agreement for conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity. Plus, third UN high-level conference of heads of counter-terrorism agencies ends with a call on member nations to focus on preventive measures to end global menace of terrorism. And now to the news. President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja for Paris to participate in the summit for the new Global Financial Pact, which begins on Thursday, 22nd of June, 2023. The president left Abuja at about 11 a.m. via the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport for his first official trip abroad. The president will join other world leaders to review and sign a new global financial pact that places vulnerable countries on the priority list for support and investment following the devastating impact of climate change, the energy crisis, and after effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. The two-day summit will also look at opportunities to restore fiscal space to countries that face difficult short-term financial challenges, especially the most indebted, mobilize innovative financing for countries vulnerable to climate change, foster development in low-income countries, and encourage investment in green infrastructure for the energy transition in emerging and developing economies. The special advisor to the president on special duties, communication and strategy, Dele Alake, says the trip holds a lot of potential for the country.
This trip is to complement the efforts that he's been making in terms of revigorating the Nigerian economy, rejuvenating the entire society, and revamping the socio-economic and political space of Nigeria. Now, essentially, this trip is to further cement Nigeria's economic prospects. Don't forget that a couple of days back, the president made some very critical decisions in the area of the economy, specifically on the unification of the multiple exchange rate of the Naira. And we expect that in the short run, there could be a spike in the value of the dollar to the Naira. And his trip here is to convince the European Union and European investors to bring in the much needed direct foreign investment into Nigeria to shore up the value of our own currency locally in the short run, while all the policies being put in place and being planned and programs will begin to yield fruit. Mr. President is going to talk to investors across the globe who are gathered in Paris, and they have invited him. I was there about a week ago when the President of the European Union placed a call or made a call directly to him, inviting him to Paris to meet with other world leaders and heavy international finance investors all over the world to make Nigeria a cynosure of eyes and to bring in their foreign investment into Nigeria, which we need at the moment. So, apart from making policies, executing programs and projects, there's a symbolism of this office of the presidency, and that is carrying the goodwill of Nigeria outside the shores of this country into the international arena, so that the international community would look favorably at Nigeria. And they are beginning to see that, because however much you put effort in foreign relations, direct successful result of foreign relation efforts will be contingent upon the efficacy and proficiency of your domestic policies. Now, in the last two weeks or 3 weeks, the international community has seen the efficacy of our domestic policies, and they are beginning to open up to us, and they are beginning to be encouraged. And you can see, as a journalist yourself, I'm sure you've read about the very favorable reports on Nigeria's situation since President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over.
Meanwhile, report just reaching us says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has arrived to Paris. Now, in other news, Vice President Kashim Shettima has decorated Kayode Egbetokun as the new Inspector General of Police. The brief event held at the VP Office State House was witnessed by the outgoing IG, Usman Alkali Baba, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Bajabiamila, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, among others.
Right now, I feel like a tiger inside of me, ready to chase away all the criminals in Nigeria. And some other time, I feel like a lion in me, ready to devour all the enemies, internal enemies of Nigeria. That's my feeling right now.
We grew up together. I was his boss at the time, not even when I was IG. He worked under me twice. We've been working together, and I know how he can go ahead to champion the cause of the police from where I have stopped.
The newly decorated IG, appointed by President Bola Tinubu yesterday, said he is ready to take on the enemy state within the country. State House correspondent Musbaud Wahab reports that the outgoing IG is expected to hand over to his successor tomorrow, Wednesday. President Bola Tinubu has approved the return of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, to the Office of the Vice President for Supervision in compliance with their various establishment acts. The President has also approved a formal structure for the Office of the Vice President, as well as an appropriate number of technical and administrative aides that will work with the Vice President in the discharge of his responsibilities. Elsewhere, the United Nations has adopted a historic agreement for the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, which cover over 2/3 of the ocean. Adebola Brucelin Sunday reports.
The treaty to protect biodiversity outside national boundaries, known as high seas, covering nearly half of the Earth's surface, had been under discussion for more than 20 years as efforts to reach an agreement had stalled repeatedly. On the basis of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea signed in 1982, the High Seas Treaty is expected to significantly strengthen the legal framework for protecting high seas, promotes the sustainable development of the oceans and marine resources, and address the multifaceted pressures affecting oceans.
Agreement is adopted.
The agreement focuses on 4 key areas: establishing a framework for fair and equitable sharing of high seas resources, establishing high seas marine protected areas, integrating high seas impacts into environmental decision-making, and promoting the capacity of countries to benefit from marine biodiversity.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
The agreement, which will open for signatures at the UN headquarters in New York City for 2 years from September 20, 2023, and will be functional after ratification by 60 states. Consequently, the UN called on all states to act without delay to sign and ratify the agreement. Adebola Brucelin Sunday, NTA News.
Nigeria has pledged commitments to continue to build empathy and understanding for refugees and asylum seekers across the country in line with the present administration's Renewed Hope agenda. Ruth Agwele reports that the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, affirmed this during a stakeholders' engagement to mark this year's World Refugee Day, celebrated every June 20 with the theme, Hope Away from Home.
Staying in Nigeria has actually helped me a lot, though a refugee. While growing up, I had some dreams that I actually wanted to acquire.
Imagine a life away from home, where your dreams are shattered. Well, that would have been the story of Ndanga if she hadn't sought refuge in Nigeria, she says. A place she has come to love like a home, while fulfilling her dreams by touching lives positively. Ndanga is one out of more than 90,000 refugees living in Nigeria, who today their hope is reignited as the world celebrates Refugee Day, a day set aside to remind nations on providing durable solutions by taking action to promote inclusion.
This year, we focus on our actions for greater inclusion, actions that strengthen access, solidarity, and solutions to empower refugees while building a stronger sense of belonging.
We need greater international support for host countries, as called for by the Global Compact for Refugees, to boost access to quality education, decent work, and social protection.
This message of inclusion entails doing all we can to give refugees hope and more opportunities while they are away from home.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons acknowledges the role of refugees by recognizing their resilience, courage and tenacity.
In this moment, we're called to action in our collective responsibility to create opportunities that unlock the full potentials of our refugees and empower them to rebuild their lives. We must open doors and tear down the barriers that hinder their integration and inclusion.
It will not be exaggerated to say that Nigeria, as a refugee-friendly country, has been doing a lot, giving these people of concerns hope and sense of belonging.
With the theme, Hope Away from Home, which seeks to restore hope for the refugees through strengthened solidarity beyond their exile, so that they can make a difference in their lives away from home. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NTA News.
Now joining us in the studio to speak further on the theme of this year is the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim. You are welcome to our studio, ma.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, what is the message today that the government is expected to act on?
The theme for the year is Hope Away from Home, a world where refugees are included. And I think it's in tandem with the message of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the message of renewed hope. The message is apt. It provokes for, inclusivity in every areas of our refugee management program.
All right. Of course, there is a thin line that exists between refugees and IDPs. Does the day takes into consideration the plight of IDPs, which Nigeria shoulders a huge burden?
Yeah, this day we commemorate with not just refugees that are crossing borders to flee for safety from fear of persecution or for safety. We also commemorate with people that are forcefully displaced, which majority are IDPs.
All right, Ma, what are the major challenges you can speak to us on, from the organization like the Refugee Commission, facing or confronting you?
The challenges are enormous, from the lack of real-time granular data that would aid effective planning and budgeting, to the challenges around coordination and cohesion amongst stakeholders and other development and humanitarian partners, to the challenges of insufficient funds to be able to provide sustainable and durable solutions for this vulnerable group of people. And then also the issue of protracted stay in settlements or camp, which results to all sorts of traumas. The challenges are a lot, but working together, whole of society, whole of government, we can continue to address these challenges one at a time.
All right, that's good to hear. You know, overcoming the challenges, of course, working towards that as well. Are there deliberate policies by the Nigerian government to manage refugees in the country?
Yes, especially the repeal of the act that established the commission, the NCFIMI Act of 2022. That gives us a legal framework to be able to, and that validates our work. We have a lot of SOPs that helps us in delivering the mandate. We have technical working groups across all sectors that brings together many players, clearly stating roles. We have, and we'll continue to develop many more policies that will help us in ensuring proper coordination around refugee management, migration management. And I'm also excited about the migration review, which would particularly address issues concerning refugees in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, I will let you go without you speaking to Nigerians on a day like this that we mark the Refugees Day.
I think in line with the theme, Hope Away from Home, we must continue to play our role as individuals, as a society, as a country. We must applaud the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have a working refugee program, but we must continue to do more, and we must call on the international community in the spirit of responsibility and burden sharing, you know, and in recognizing our commitment to the 1951 Convention, to the refugee program, to also accord the right kind of support that is required for refugee management in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right, thank you very much for coming to our studio and for your insight on this day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Yes, I've been speaking with Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, who is the Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. And moving on the news, search teams are racing against time to find a tourist submersible that went missing during a dive into the Titanic's wreck on Sunday. The rescue operation is continuing overnight in the mid-Atlantic. Adebola Brucelin Sunday will bring us this report after the break.
Like a decent fashion designer only gets over midnight.
Midweight.
Man like Osimhen, Papa just the chop Italian league like Oha.
These are real housewives of Abuja. Those women are fire. What does OJ say again? A relationship with money is alhamdulillah.
Because they wear uniform, you want to treat people anyhow. Imagine this officer, I will clear out online. Don't cost. Bruh, come on there. Things no matter. The biggest dragon for Westeros, now is slow picking face down, climb down, right down like Formula 1. Yeah, catch me.
He found the gold and asked her for just shaking me piece of the pie, and she killed him for it.
Obini, fair women, no.
No one tells a story like we do. Showmax, Africa's original streaming service.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Thank you for staying with us on the News on International at 7. Now let's take Adebola Brucelin Sunday's report on such teams racing against time to find a tourist submersible.
The submersible was operated by Ocean Gate Expeditions and lost contact with the support vessel Sunday morning. 5 people were on board when contact with the small tourist sub was lost about 1 hour 45 minutes into its dive. The rescue operations by U.S. and Canadian agencies, navies and commercial deep-sea firm expanded into the deeper waters in the mid-Atlantic. As of Monday afternoon, the U.S. Coast Guard says the 5 crew members, which include Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son, Suleiman, French explorer Paul-Henri Nagole, Stockton Rush, who is the chief executive of Ocean Gates, the firm behind the dive, is also being widely reported to be on the vessel, which has roughly 4 days of oxygen left.
If it's on the bottom, the next challenge is how do you get them up? You're not going to be able to transfer them onto another vessel at depth. You're going to have to bring the whole submersible up and then take them off.
Military planes, a submarine and sonar bow have so far been used in the search for the vessel. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
The international community should focus on prevention as the most effective approach to ending the global menace of terrorism. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated this at the 3rd UN High-Level Conference of Heads of Counter-Terrorism Agencies of Member States. Again, Adebola Brucelin Sunday has more.
Terrorism affects every region and further compounds the complex crisis engulfing the world. The UN scribe Antonio Guterres told the UN High-Level Conference of Heads of Counter-Terrorism Agencies of Member States that prevention means more than just foiling attacks and disrupting plots, but addressing the underlying conditions that can lead to terrorism in the first place. He identified poverty, discrimination, disaffection, weak infrastructure and institutions, as well as gross violation of human rights.
These universal values animate the United Nations Charter and are at the core of our work for peace, justice and human rights. Preserving peace and preventing war is the raison d'être of this Council. Threats to peace come in many forms, from competition for power and resources, to human rights violations and weak governments, to extreme poverty, inequalities and marginalization that breed hopelessness and despair.
The UN chief listed lack of funding as one of the challenges, a shortfall that could have serious implications both for peacekeeping efforts and for the UN Office of Counterterrorism. Guterres called on all member states to fulfill their funding commitments and ensure that there are resources to help take on the common challenge. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Let's shift our attention to environment now. Nigeria is marking the 2023 Day to Combat Desertification and Drought with a renewed commitment to promoting the rights of women to own land as a means to address factors that contribute to land degradation in the country. Environment correspondent Onengie Fineface reports that stakeholders at a national dialogue on the 2023 International Day to Combat Desertification and Drought are resolved to advance women's right to land ownership from the family level and traditional institutions. Organized by the Federal Ministry of Environment, the National Dialogue articulates specific roles of women in combating land degradation caused by desertification and drought, recognizing that they are most affected by the impacts of degraded lands.
This issue of lack of land rights starts from the family. So these are the issues we want to bring out so that we can effect change in family attitude towards land distribution.
So there is a double challenge of making sure that we cultivate that arable land, but then we also have an opportunity in the fact that there are lots of women in agriculture that we can stimulate to increase productivity by making sure they have access and ownership, not just access. Ownership is important of this land.
That women must enjoy
within the context of these laws are damaged, because they are the ones that lose their homes, they are the ones that lose their farmlands, they are the ones that lose their sources of livelihood.
On the judiciary, efficient and effective service delivery in the judiciary have been hinged on how well the support staff in the judicial sector perform their duties. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariola, said this at the opening of a hybrid national workshop on court management and administration for the support staff in the judiciary. Dele Atumbi reports.
The hybrid national workshop with a team towards achieving better service delivery in the judiciary brought together judiciary support staff from all the jurisdictions nationwide. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariola, pointed out that the forum was aimed at enhancing staff performance for effective justice delivery. Justice Ariola stressed the need for all the support staff to take advantage of the workshop to improve the services in the justice sector. The Chief Justice of Nigeria was of the opinion that judiciary workers must work in tandem with other judicial officers to ensure justice is served.
This is timely and relevant as it speaks directly to the challenges we face today in the judiciary, wherein the demand for quality service is on the rise on a daily basis as a result of the innovations being introduced into the system to enable it meet the demand of the 21st century judiciary.
The administrator of the National Judicial Institute, Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi, maintained that the support staff play active roles in the efficient running of the judicial system.
All hands must be on deck to ensure that our judicial system is held by public in high esteem. In this regard, you must ensure that you maintain the trust and integrity reposed in the judiciary.
The forum afforded the participants the opportunity to cross-fertilize ideas. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Dele Atumbi's story concludes the news at 7 on NTA International. Thank you for watching. I am Nolene Ebel Ame, and Courage Ogiriahi have been the sign language interpreter on the news. Bye for now.